Hi, this is John Tompkins, the defender in Indianapolis, Indiana, with an answer to another question. And thanks for keeping those questions coming in, by the way. Today's question is about jail calls. And this is jails, prisons, any kind of detention facility, quite frankly. In today's environment, every minute of every call is recorded, even calls between attorneys and clients, doctors and patients. Those calls are recorded. There are some restrictions on the government's ability to listen to privileged calls like attorney calls or physician calls, but do not count on those restrictions to be applied. Do not count on those calls not being heard if they're made on open lines. Now, there are separate lines where you schedule attorney calls, doctor calls, things like that, and use those lines. But if in an emergency you need to talk to your attorney on a recorded line, hopefully they'll remind you it's a recorded call and it will just be administrative type stuff. That's not the main problem, though. The main problem that I encounter with jail calls is everything is said. It's all out there. Whether it's the caller or the person who's being detained, they talk about everything. They act like nobody else is on the line, but in fact, this is a party line, and you might as well say, "Did you get all that, detective?" Or "Could you hear that, officer?" Because they will listen, not in real time. That's the difference between a jail call and a wiretap. In a wiretap, they actually listen in real time while you're talking. In a jail call, those calls are stored in a digital computer data bank, and they can search them by your PIN number, they can search them by your name, they can search them by the phone number that is being called on the outside, they can search them by numerous ways. And in many systems, there's speech recognition technology, and calls with certain words like escape, kill, drugs, cocaine, Fetty will be flagged, and that is a guarantee they will be listened to. So remember, all those calls are going to be listened to. And more importantly, everything you say is admissible in court. And that doesn't just mean at your trial. That might mean at a bond review hearing or at a motion to suppress or in any matter. And it might generate its own hearing. If you have violated some of the jail rules, you might get a hearing for restrictions while you're in jail. So remember, count on every call being listened to include from when you are first booked in, before you're even charged. All those calls from just the short-term holding areas are recorded and kept in a database, and those can be screened. Lots of people are asked right off the bat when they're just in holding, not fully booked in, "Hey, what happened?" And they say what happened. Bad idea. So that's just a let's get real about it. Let's recognize what's going on. You have a right to not incriminate yourself. You waive that by talking on a recorded jail call. It's usually painted right on the wall. All those calls are going to be admissible. All those admissions are going to eventually hurt you. Maybe not the moment you say them, but down the road when they're pulling your calls in preparation for trial or for a bond review or for a suppression hearing, all those admissions you made are going to be heard by the state, by the government, and used against you. So, jail calls, they're important. Keep in touch with your family. Talk about the Cardinals. Talk about the Colts. Talk about the weather. Talk about your kids. Anything you want except your case. So, that's it on jail calls, prison calls, any kind of in-custody calls at all. Same goes for your tablet and sending texts and messages if you're in a facility that has those. Those are going to be screened and scanned and crawled with algorithms looking for certain words and phrases. You can't figure out a code that they cannot break. So don't try. Just talk about regular stuff, catch up with your family, and then move on without talking about your case. Good question. Thanks again. This is John Tompkins, the defender in Indianapolis, Indiana. Keep the questions coming, and I'll keep the answers coming.